This is the Bill Squire Show.
Here we are.
Whenever I'm in front of a microphone like this, I want to hold it, like instinctively, you know?
Because it looks like a penis.
No, because it looks like a microphone. Like the ones we have at work are different.
You can hold it if you want.
I feel like I might want to. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Just
All right, cool.
put this down.
Yeah, this feels when it's
Put it on
a
the ground, so
okay.
it's out of the shot.
Sure. When it's a mic like this, it feels more comfortable for me
Yeah, that's fine.
to hold it.
Yeah, as long as I don't think it should make too much noise. As long as we're not going to be moving around too much. Okay.
I'm a flailer.
Yeah, I know. I film you every day. This is already going, so I'm not even going to do like an introduction or anything. Welcome to the Bill Squire Show. I'm your host, Bill Squire. This is this week's guest, Mary Santora.
Hi, guys.
And she's on a very special episode because this is the first episode where the Instagram hottie is a dude.
Ooh.
It's going to be Matt Campy, and
Nice.
I'll have an interview with him coming up a little later. And all the girls are like, oh, why is there never a guy? Why is there never a guy? Well, now you got a guy, and it's Matt Campy, and he's a hot piece of ass.
He's a good-looking dude.
Treat him as such, and he's newly single, but I think him and his girl can get back to. I don't know what's going on with him, but you can enjoy the thirst trap that I'll post for him. Now he gave me a few options from when he was like 21. Mm-hmm. Should I use those, or should I use one? Like a pouty face one.
Well, it's not
I feel like
representative if you use one from 10 years ago.
Well, there's one that's kind of like, yeah, that's fine. I'll use the pouty. I think I told him that I was going to use I think I might just put those ones in it anyway, like as like a joke.
Yeah.
But I'll use like, he's got a pouty like selfie that he posted a few weeks ago that I'm like, all right, I'm going to use that one.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. You don't want something from that long ago.
No, but it is funny though. And there are plenty of people that do that. One thing I need to like, so my posture on this show is terrible.
Yeah?
Because I'm always like hunched over, like, yeah.
Sit up straight.
I'm trying. I've always had terrible posture.
I do too, though.
Yeah, I'm bad when it comes to posture. And then, like, it comes through more on this show than on, like, the angle that I have on the Alan Cox show. There's, like, the table's up higher, and you don't see it as much.
And it's going up. Oh, no, not up. But
No, but it's more down.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just a little kinder than this angle. Mm-hmm. So I just got to remember to sit up straight.
Shoulders back.
Shoulders back.
If
yeah.
it makes your collarbone uncomfortable, then it's probably right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, or I'll just completely go Mary and just like,
dude, I can't. It's just like the way that it is. I'm so much more comfortable here, right here. Is
Maybe
so
I'll get the
much
couch
more
for this
comfortable.
side too.
Yes.
Yeah. Then just.
But then you got to make sure you have guests on who are comfortable sitting. Not that people will be uncomfortable sitting on a couch with you.
Maybe not.
But
maybe just like some like real comfy chairs.
Yeah.
Like a couple like nice, deep, comfy chairs rather than the office look. Maybe if I go, oh no, it's as low
they're
as it
nice
goes.
chairs though.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
I spent a lot of money on this. And
it looks fantastic,
it's coming
dude.
along. Like this side of the room is what's on camera is what I focus on.
Mm-hmm.
But I also got a bunch of boxes to put the shoes in, so it's going to be nice and uniform and everything. Because right now it's just the boxes
haphazard.
they come in. Yeah, they're just kind of the boxes that they came in. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go for the whole like nice, clean thing. I still want to paint too. I've been meaning to do that.
Got a lot to do, but
got
that's
a lot
great.
to do, but you'll watch as the show each week. You'll watch if you're watching. You'll see it come along. If you're listening, you don't give a fuck about anything we're saying right now. Like,
my heart skipped a little bit when you just said fuck because I was like, oh, Bill.
Well,
I forget we're allowed to curse here.
I was doing Flicks and Bill at the station, and for a lot of reasons, I can't do guests at the station anymore. So I was like, I'll build a studio in my apartment, then I can do it there. But it's one of the big reasons I didn't like recording it there is because I don't like to swear in our studio.
Right.
It makes me very, very uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, it should, because then you could get fined, you
But,
could lose your job.
I know,
There's a lot of implications to that.
But I want to be able to have like a more freewheeling, uncensored show.
Yeah.
And I never felt comfortable doing it in that situation. So that's why I wanted to build the home. Hot dogs.
Our gourmet dinner coming up.
Hot dogs.
So good.
They were good. So I wanted to build the home studio, and it's I'm
coming along, man.
I'm gonna do all this stuff over here, make that all nice, and it's gonna be more set to have that kind of dynamic. So there's stuff I want to do still, but also this table I got for free.
What?
Because Amazon sent it to me, and then they thought it didn't get delivered, and then it did get delivered, and they had already refunded my money, and so I just kept it.
Hell yeah.
and it was
That's awesome.
But it was also kind of destroyed. Like I had to like patchwork it together because like there's one of these legs that is like held on with glue rather than a screw because it was busted.
Yeah.
So I had to do a little something
Tweaking.
So, yeah, but it's good enough. Don't wiggle it too much though.
I won't.
All right, so Mary, you have a show coming up. Before we talk about that, you had texted me the other day.
Yesterday.
Yesterday you texted me and you asked if girls taste different when you're going down on them if they drink coffee.
Yes. Because I had coffee that morning. I drank coffee, and when I peed, it smelled like coffee.
Right.
And I was like, I wonder if it tastes like coffee if you drink coffee. Because I don't know.
And it might cause a little bit different of a taste, but it's not anything that I notice.
Not like overpowering.
I've never like done like a control group where I'm like, all right, here's the coffee pussy, and here's
Right.
the decaf.
Well, I feel like it would smell the same.
Well, I
or
guess
taste
decaf,
the
yeah,
same.
yeah. Here's the water pussy. Here's the coffee
Right.
pussy.
This person drinks a lot of water, is
Yeah.
well hydrated. This person is on a coffee diet and
Right.
is dehydrated. I was just curious because I'm like, and then I also thought, then my mind started to wander because I was like, maybe like asparagus.
Yeah.
Like asparagus, it makes your pee smell so
So
strong.
bad, so strong.
That I'm like, I wonder.
And like immediately too.
Yes.
So there's actually in this then went to, well, you can taste it when a guy, like if a guy comes in your mouth and you taste his cum, it's going to see very uncensored.
Yeah.
You can definitely taste if he's got like a good diet or a bad diet.
I don't know if I agree with that.
From what I understand, that's out there, and I heard on a podcast. I think it was Risk. I'm not sure which
It's a board
podcast
game.
it was, but this guy was talking about how he did the pineapple thing, but he did it to a like extreme degree where he only ate pineapple for like 3 days. Then he cleared his pipes, and then came, and he describes gay guy.
He tasted his own.
Well, he's a gay guy, so like I don't know if it was him talking about the person he tried it with, but whatever it was, he said it was incredible.
Really?
Yeah, he said it was the best, and I don't know if he was just playing it up for the podcast, but he was very into. Now he said it was miserable just going through that process, though. But he said
I'm trying
it
to
was,
think, and I can't recall specifically if anybody tasted particularly good or bad based on their diet. And if it was, it's not something that I've noticed.
right, because it's also not like something you're like savoring.
Right.
You're
And
not
yeah,
like-
it's not
you're like,
exactly like you're. Yeah.
It's something
You're not,
you
you're
take
not
it
at a wine tasting.
Yeah,
where you're
you take it like a pill. Like you're
Right.
just trying to get it down. You're not
Right.
sitting there like swishing it around, being like, "Oh, there's oaky notes in this one."
Yeah, right.
No, that's yeah.
It's
so-
swirling it
Yeah.
on your tongue. You're like, really letting it sit there. No, absolutely
very
not.
disgusting. All right, now we've even grossed me out on this podcast. So
Hey, there you go. You're welcome.
I know. I'm proud of you. So you just recently, and because the reason you brought that up is because you recently got into an entanglement is the new term.
Entanglement. No, I feel like entanglement implies like
Something
like it's
salacious.
Ooh, salacious. Good
Yeah.
word. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
work with a word nerd.
Yeah, it's not salacious. No, I started seeing somebody. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going really, really well. And yeah, that's it. I was just curious.
I've been talking a lot because like Matt Campy went through, and we'll get to that. He went through a breakup during this, and then my other friend Nikki got into a relationship. I got into a relationship, but right now, like dating's already a fucking nightmare in 2020.
It's a shit show.
And then you add on top of it the fact that you can't get close to somebody.
Yeah.
So you actually have to get to know them.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't even, because you went on like dates for a few weeks.
I went out, for probably 5 or 6 weeks. I was actively dating, and I went out with 4 different guys, and it was one of those where I was like, I feel like you get excited either way. You're meeting somebody new, and it's, you're getting to know people, and everybody can bring something different to the table. But taking the option of sex and intimacy and physical touch 100% off the board.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, people suck. Like,
Oh yeah, well, and that's
it's like I can't listen to your stupid stories for one more
that
day.
was
Like,
that was Mormon dating.
Yeah.
That was like, and that's why like Mormons, when they find someone, if you check boxes for someone, then they're just like, okay, I can have a good conversation with you. You have a job, you have a focus in your life, you're kind of funny. Oh, all right, we're getting married now because
Yeah.
I need to put it in you.
right. That's wild.
Like my brother and his wife, who are still together and they're very happy. They dated for like 3 months and then they were married.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They got married while I was in the Philippines, and pretty similar thing happened to my older brother, where they were just, like they had dated. He was going to school at BYU Hawaii, and he met her there, and then they both ended up back in Utah, and just started dating. And then after a few weeks, they're like, "Let's get married," and it happens that fast.
Dude.
Because that's.
But that's what
But
it is.
they're both still married and pretty happy, and so I mean, it's
Yeah, but they can't get divorced, right? Isn't that
I mean, you
against-
can. It's just frowned
Do you lose your
upon.
planet?
You lose. I mean, but you gotta like build it back up. But
Right.
they allow it for certain reasons, and they've gotten much more lax on it because it's a church that is just hemorrhaging members, and they go, okay, you can do that now. Okay, you want to do that? All right,
yeah,
just
sure,
do that.
sure,
Yeah.
I mean,
Just
murder kind of, as long as there's no intent.
10% of your income, and you can pretty much do what you want. You just need that 10%.
No, but if you get unemployed, then you're kicked out because you can't pay tithes anymore, right?
Right. I mean,
just like you lost your income. Sorry, that's
they
a sin.
actually have a very good welfare system in the
Oh, really?
church. Like they're actually, it's very like take care of their own situation because there's plenty of people that have lost their jobs and they had to, kind of prop each other up. But
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely, but they're like, but when you get back on your feet,
Back
make
tithes.
sure to get a good job.
They're coming at you like the
10%.
IRS.
10%, man. That would be so hard to do.
Dude, I don't know. People are so dedicated to it throughout. Like people who were losing their jobs during the shutdown and stuff, and they're still tithing and all that. I'm like, just that. I mean, we talked about that on air too, where it's like you want to take the good parts out of religion and out of the Bible and things like. At least me personally, and then you see. The people are 100% what drove me away from it. Just the people of the church, my own family members, where I'm like, dude, just listen to yourself. You're trying to ask someone that you supposedly love and care about, and you care about them enough to make sure that their eternal soul is taken care of. But you're like, oh, you're making $82 a week on unemployment. You better give us 8 of it.
Yeah,
like, that's wild.
$88. And that's like, one of the biggest problems that I had with the Mormon church is how everything, like when you did something bad, it was a secret. So everybody appeared to be perfect. Like everybody thought that everybody else was doing the right thing. But if you weren't doing the right thing, then there were, rumors and a lot of gossip happening. And I would have been so much happier if I could have just come clean with everybody and be like, hey, this is what I did. And this is
there no like
just so-
confessing?
Well, you confess to the bishop, but it's just between you and him.
So you
I
still
would
feel like
rather-
you're lying to everybody else?
Yes, exactly. Because like when I got sent home early from my mission, like it was a week early, and people had questions, and I wasn't supposed to say anything, so I just had to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm just home early."
Yeah.
They sent, there was what happened, transfer things, but then they all knew something was up because I didn't give like a speech. You're supposed to give a speech when you get back and everything like that, and so everybody knew that I wasn't.
Something was going on.
So then they just start speculating, and then they ask around. They go, "What happened? Who did you do? Did you hear this?" And then you feel really, really out of place when you're going to that building again and again every week, and like trying to build yourself back up. Like, because I went to church again for a full year before I completely left it.
Wow.
And it was just really uncomfortable. And I would go to the singles ward. So there's like the congregation. There's a singles
ward, like it's like
they
an
were called them wards.
insanity.
No. They called them all wards. So each congregation was called a ward.
Oh, okay.
So I was
Sounds like
supposed
a
to be,
ward of a hospital.
I
It's like,
know.
what do you think?
So I was supposed to be in Medina, but then I would go to the singles ward, which they meant in Canton because it's more central to like the area because it covers like a huge amount of
Yeah.
like
Land,
so many
space.
Yeah, so many counties and stuff. And so that was like the most central place for everybody to meet. And I would go, I'd stay for like an hour when you're supposed to be there for 3 hours, and then I would leave early and just like go to like a restaurant or something and kill time till I was supposed to be back.
Yeah.
Like watch football or just fuck around or whatever.
Yeah.
Just because I was so miserable being there.
For sure, dude. I'm glad you got out.
Yeah, I would be dead. I would honestly have killed myself if I stayed in the church.
Really?
Yeah.
That
Because I
bad?
felt no comfort. Everything that they told me to do that was supposed to comfort me made me feel worse because I wasn't getting any sort of answer, getting any sort of, I wasn't feeling reassured. It just made me feel further and further away from them. And
It's
further
almost like
away because I was like so logical in my thinking and they wanted me to like feel the spirit or all this bullshit. And I was just like, it doesn't work that way for me. And I tried to explain that to them.
Yeah.
And they're just like, well, you just got to try harder. And I'm like, well, I don't know what else to fucking do. All
Right.
So
It's like they answered your questions with rules, and you're just like, well,
Yes.
that's
such a good way to put it.
that's not how it works.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't need to know another rule. I need you to help me. I'm coming to you for help. I don't need you to, yeah. That's,
Right. And then like, and they meant well, but it just didn't jive with me because I'm I'm one mental, like I wouldn't say I'm mentally ill, but I'm definitely not a regular thinking person. Like I definitely look at things a different way than a lot of people. So when I do that and I see, like I have this very objective view of all these different things, and I'm interpreting what they're teaching me and applying it to my life in a certain way that works for me, and you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
And you're coming up with your own conclusions, and you start thinking for yourself, and you're not supposed to do that. And it just felt really binding.
yeah, you feel stuck. It's a hard part of it. You feel stuck, and in the way that they're giving you solutions doesn't help. Then
Right.
you're like, well, now what?
Right. And then you doubt everything even
yeah.
more. And and so you just start pulling on that thread, and you go, okay, so I don't believe this, and I don't believe, and they told me to do this, and that didn't work, and everything that I'm trying to be and trying to accomplish in my life goes against what they tell me to do, and like they want me to be a cog in a machine, basically, and I am not that person.
Do you ever wonder if you met the right type of, not necessarily mentor, but someone like in the church that maybe thought a little bit more like you if you would have stayed? Because I think about that sometimes.
I think about that.
If
Yeah,
I had a
yeah.
different
'Cause-
congregation, would I still be an avid Christian?
Because
you know?
that's when I would get along the best, because I had a few of those people from time to time, but it was always like there was always some sort of crack in who they were that I was like, but I don't like that part.
Right.
But I don't like that part. Like
Yeah.
that part really skeezes me out. And then like the people that I made friends with that were like missionaries with me, they all had a lot of the similar questions that I had that weren't being answered. So we were all just like kind of like going like, yeah, then this is fucked up. And they're like,
Right.
yeah, this is kind of
Did you
fucked up.
find out
Why are we
that?
doing this?
Did you hear
Oh, because our
about-
parents, why are we, so none of us like, so
Right.
when you have that, like that realization with one of those other missionaries and you're like, oh man, I don't really believe this and you don't believe it either. And
Right.
we're only here because there's an obligation to make your family proud. It really, it drops the level of obedience real quick.
Yeah, and I can imagine that that's probably what the people, the elder, what are they called? Like the higher ups?
Yeah, just like the elders of the church. Yeah.
Sure, I'm sure that that's the kind of stuff that makes them super uncomfortable and why there are so many rules. Because
Right.
like if you guys start talking to each other,
Yeah.
we're gonna have some
If you guys
serious
start thinking for
problems,
yourselves, that's when
right?
things get a
You
little
can't-
rough. Yeah.
No clamoring, no getting together over
But
here.
and it
like-
really is that way. Like it really is that way where it's like you can be in these groups, you can be around these people, but you're supposed to keep things on these topics. You're not supposed to talk about this. You're not supposed to. And if you do question it, you're supposed to go up to a higher up, and they'll talk to you about it. You're not supposed to really discuss it amongst yourselves.
Right.
And it was really, it's very controlling. And like the thing I think about the most when it comes to my religious upbringing is if I could have just like, because I was so terrified. Like I look at this now, like I'm like, oh my God, I was so fucking afraid of being cut away from my family because it's like, it's what
and
that I never did anything super bad. Like I was very rebellious, but in like an okay way. But I didn't like do drugs and I didn't like do anything that would be like a deal breaker for my parents. And I
Right.
wish I had done some more of that stuff so I could have really gotten out on my own and maybe even like I was close to doing it when I was like 18. I was going to move to California like right out of high school with my buddy. Maybe I was 19, but I was going to move out there and I chickened out.
But I think that also puts you in a weird position too, because it's like you being Mormon and being quote unquote like different, probably you didn't have a lot of friends because people probably thought you were weird and you wear your special underwear and all that stuff.
That stuff all comes later. So
But
nobody,
what I'm saying is that
but like
you don't
at
want
school,
to.
nobody really knew that I was anything different.
Okay, I was gonna
So,
say because
like,
I
at
didn't know if
school-
you were afraid to dishonor your parents because
No.
you didn't have anywhere else to go. You
No.
didn't have like a friend group or anything.
No,
like
I
that.
had
didn't know.
friend groups, but my friend groups would change pretty much from year to year because I never got super close with anybody. So it was like kind of whoever, like proximity based friendship. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you're around. Okay, these are my friends this year. And like, I mean, I still was friends with other people, but
But was
I
it
think
two
that-
different parts of your life? Did your friends?
Oh,
you
it's
didn't.
very and the one thing that the church taught me to do more than anything was to be very two-faced and very like
Compartmentalized.
yeah. So like there was church bill and then there was school bill,
Mm-hmm.
and school bill was he would swear and he'd to talk shit and have fun and do all this stuff, but then I'd go to church and have to like reel all that in.
Yeah,
was
I
very
mean, to a
different.
certain degree, I get that. But with my specific, I mean, I was Pentecostal and I was very proud of being Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the way up through high school, I was very proud where I would talk about it. I would not necessarily try to convert people. I mean, I've talked about it on air before. I think I touched on it. There was a girl that I've since apologized to, but she was one of the only, I mean, I was in high school 2004 to 2008. So being gay in high school was still kind of a new thing. Like
Right,
that
yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
something, there were a couple gay guys in our high school and like no lesbians. And it was just people still throwing around, gay and stuff like that.
and F-word
But
and all that
yeah.
stuff,
And there was one girl in particular who I would be like, I care about you. I think that you're smart. You're going to go to hell. You need to repent. Like you're a sinner. And she didn't ask for any of that. I came at her like that.
Right.
But I was like that level of Christian in high school. And I've since like apologized in college and I sent her a message on Facebook and I was like, hey, I was an asshole. Like that
Yeah.
is not okay. Like,
Yeah,
after getting out of that, but like, I didn't know if you were as forward with it.
No, I wasn't
like,
very
this is what
forward
I
at all
believe.
because mostly I didn't want to talk about it. Like I didn't want to try and
'Cause you were,
explain to
like-
it because it was like I felt different, but I also didn't feel like they needed to know about it. And I'm like, also they're like,
was it something you were proud of?
not really.
Yeah.
It was like to a certain age, I was like personally proud. I'm like, oh, I know the truth, and they don't.
Right.
And then like as it became it, then it like as I got into like middle school and high school, I didn't really want anybody to talk about it. So like it was more just like use humor as a defense mechanism,
Right.
and nobody talked about religion really.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think like there weren't any kids that were like super outspoken about religion, and I had no idea how. And like that was kind of normal. Like it was just like no, like lots of kids went to church, but we didn't talk about it because we all thought we were going to basically the same shit, and we kind of were.
Yeah.
And then you get to school and just be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But like it was very compartmentalized, like you said. So I wouldn't bring it
There's
up.
no
and
crossover, really.
And like I remember once having a deep conversation with a friend of mine, and I talked to her for like we were driving back from Columbus or something, and I talked to her for like an hour and a half about it, and she's like, I didn't say anything that whole time, and I'm like, I feel so like I felt like such a fucking moron
Yeah.
because she was asking questions, and then I just like went into this like nope, that's no good, and
I-
just like not, she was like disengaged, and I felt so stupid.
My my high school sweetheart wasn't super religious. I think his mom might have gone to church, but no, or his dad. I think his dad went to church like every Sunday. They were Catholic, but he was the only one in the family. And then they would all go on like Easter and stuff like that. And I was super Christian, and so I would go to church camp every single year, and they just have you all fired up when you get back, and
Yeah.
you're all fellowship and spread the word and da da da. And every single year after church camp, I would talk to him about going to church with me. Like, I just want you to go to church with me, and this, that, and the other. And it would always like not cause a problem, but he was very much so like, why can't I just believe what I have to believe? Like,
Right.
why do I have to believe? And this is a 15-year-old
Well,
kid.
and that's like I felt a little pressure to do that too because I was supposed to marry a Mormon girl, so like that was the one friend, like I liked her and I wanted her to become Mormon so that we could date and I could get married to her. But I'm so glad it didn't work out because that would have been terrible.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't even that I actually liked her. She just was around again, like another proximity. Like,
Right.
Like we were friends. Like we had a good time with each other, but it wasn't like there was actually no romance there too. And that's another thing is being around girls in that degree, like as a Mormon, just attention, and also being like who I was, like being like small and like kind of dorky and everything, like that. Like I had no idea how to like read or interact with girls. Like I was always very nice, and I wasn't like the guy that's like, oh, you don't like me, you're a bitch or anything like that. But I would just be like friends with them, and so I learned how to be respectful to women because of that. But it was also one of those things where I didn't understand that when women liked me, I was completely oblivious, and like when they didn't like me, I was completely oblivious. So
Yeah.
it was very strange because I didn't have those social skills.
yeah.
That might be more of just who I am than the Mormon thing.
On
I
the
feel
spectrum.
like it might have all played into it. And that's another thing. There was no spectrum back then.
No.
Like they didn't. I didn't get. I should have probably been on some ADD medicine, but I wasn't.
Yeah. My brother was on
very
Ritalin for like as long as I remember. However old you don't take Ritalin anymore, he was on it, and then he might have just stopped taking it. I don't know. But I feel like and that's what everyone's trying to open up conversations about mental health and things like that now, because it was always so. Our parents' generation was, you have to be normal. You cannot not be normal.
Right.
We need to be seen, and that's not even a religion thing. That's just their generation.
That's just
was
society. Yeah,
right.
like to fit into society,
This
you
is
gotta
exactly
be normal,
what we have to do. And
do
you,
like
yeah.
other people. Yeah, it's very keeping up with the Joneses type situation.
Yeah.
I was not normal, and I'm still not normal, and I'm very okay with that.
But you know what? You're you.
And I'm getting used to that too.
It's good though.
It's good.
It's hard to accept who you truly are. It really is. That's something in sobriety that's been one of the hardest parts for me, is trying to just be like, just stop fighting it. Accept that these are your quirks, these are your faults, these are your,
And it's one of those
strengths.
things where it's like, when you're a kid, you're so purely yourself because you don't know how to be anything else.
Yeah.
And you're like, how do I get back to that?
Right.
But I know so much now that it's like,
Yeah.
it's
You're
like,
so full
all
of insecurities.
But your
and
insecurities, but like it's self-awareness too. So when you have that self-awareness, and it's like we were talking about on the radio show today, where like, if you're a smart person, you know how much you don't know.
Right.
And it's kind of the same thing where like,
Or
when
you
you're
question what
self-aware,
you do know.
Yeah. And you question what you do know. And so when you're self-aware, you go, okay, well, I know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at and what I need to get better at. And it feels very overwhelming. And then there's the, ignorance is bliss people where they're just like, I don't know what the fuck everybody's freaking out for. The cops never harassed me.
Well, I think about that too, because I think for a long time in my life, I very much have always been a just accept what is told to you and go with it kind of a thing, whether it's from religion or when I was drinking all the time.
Yeah.
I didn't really have to think. This is going to sound horrible. I didn't have to think situations through to a logical endpoint. It was, well, we're going to get drunk tonight and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah.
And then you kind of just take those consequences as they come. Like, because you can't really get mad at anybody else. Just like, I was the drunk one. This is what happened. Now I
Now,
deal
there
with
are
it.
plenty of drunk people that get mad at everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
But you're more of a party drunk, not an angry drunk.
Correct. But so it would be like, oh, I got drunk and now I'm hungover. I have to go to work.
Yeah.
Like
And
that
I got a
kind of
story.
stuff.
Yeah.
Right. It was more like that kind of stuff. But what? Why were we saying that?
Oh, because we're talking about being ourselves and self-awareness and having to.
I don't even remember where I was going with it.
Okay, well, the drunk thing was basically you didn't have to think about the heavy stuff. You didn't have to
Yes,
question
that's
that
what
stuff.
it was.
Yeah.
That I didn't. So I've always so even when I wasn't like necessarily drunk, but I was in a drinking part of my life, I never had to deal with that heavy stuff. So I was always very kind of like like kind of bopping around and not really worrying. And I had a job where in bartending, it was like, I know I'm going to make money every day. So
Yeah.
I never really stressed about bills because I'm like, I can pick up a shift.
Right,
I can,
you
if
can
I
make
need
some
to,
money here and there.
I could work 80 hours this week and pay my bills for the next 2 months. You know?
That's why when I was a Mormon missionary, like I was doing everything that they told me to do, and I was supposed to have this inner peace or something like that, and all I wanted to do was kill myself. I'm
Yeah.
like, you guys are telling me to do all this stuff and live this way, and I'm supposed to be full of God's love and just beaming with the Spirit.
And it's not working.
And all I want to do is jump off the roof of my apartment building because I just feel constant dread that I'm wasting every moment of my life right now. Mm-hmm. And it was at that moment,
and probably a certain amount of guilt too, because you are taught all these things and then you don't believe
and
them.
the guilt
so
thing
you
is
feel
huge.
so guilty for not
Yeah.
believing what you've been told
Right.
when you're like, why
And you feel like it's your
don't I
fault.
get it? Look,
Yeah.
everybody else around me gets it. Why don't I get it? Why can't I just feel the way that they feel? They're
Yeah.
making you feel like an outcast to a certain degree.
Well, but then they don't even know because it's this that those two lives that I was leading where I was really good at teaching it. I was a good missionary. I mean, I was out there. I learned the language fast. I was really good at being a missionary, and I worked really fucking hard. But I just felt completely disconnected from my person, like my true self. And it was like it's one of those things where I looked at myself in the mirror and I hated what I saw.
Yeah, dude. That's how I was when I was drinking.
Yeah.
I was, that's the only time that I really like truly hated myself. And you don't realize how much it takes to come back from that. When it's just self-loathing for so long. Like it was so fucked up. There would be parts of me when I lived with my ex and I'd be drunk and I was just overweight and I wasn't happy in my relationship and things like that where I would be wasted. I have specific memories looking myself in the mirror and just talking the worst kind of shit to like if I were to say the things that I would say to myself, and I would do them out loud.
Yeah.
Like, you want to talk about fucked up, self-destructive behavior, I would be staring in the mirror like, you're an ugly fat piece of shit. You like just saying that stuff out loud.
The night that we got in the fight in Columbus, I was doing that.
Yeah.
Because I was mad at we were mad at each other, but I was mad at myself mostly. And I was just like, you fucking piece of shit. Why would you even do that? Like, like you.
But even just that is just, it's so harmful because, and you think about it the way that I've thought about it it's like, okay, it's in the past, it happened. But I'm like, if anybody else in my life would have talked to me that way, I would have never spoken to them again.
Yep.
If anyone else would have talked to me the way that I talked to myself when I was drinking, I'd been like, this, I don't need this in my life. And when you get to a certain point where you don't put up with that shit from yourself anymore.
Right. And that's why when people are so shitty online, you always kind of have to remind yourself that, oh, they're not talking about me.
Yeah.
They think they're talking about me, but they're really just an asshole. Like somebody the other day, it's like, man, I don't get it. Where's the funny? And I'm like, I don't care, man.
Yeah.
If you don't think I'm funny, then unfollow me. I don't care anymore.
Right.
It's one of those things, like, go listen to my comedy albums. If you don't like this, then that's fine. But I don't know. You're the one following me, and like, I don't understand that. And like, it's such a red, because I
or
never,
the need to put it out
Like,
there
to
where
put
it's
it
like,
out
if you
there,
don't
yeah.
like it, just keep moving, man.
yeah, keep moving.
There's thousands of podcasts.
There's so many things that
Right.
you can like.
Yeah.
So to just be like, I don't like this, but I'm gonna follow him and I'm gonna try and hurt his feelings. And it's like, again, that's not how, like, and I kind of talked about this a couple weeks ago, where like, that doesn't hurt my feelings. I'm more annoyed by it, and it's not even like annoyed because you said it. I'm annoyed on your behalf.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, you did this to you.
Yeah.
I don't force people to follow me. I don't fight you if you don't follow me. Like, I don't.
You should.
I that might be a great
Start
way to get
fist fighting everyone who unfollows you.
So many girls.
At least you win.
We don't know that. We don't know that. I'm powerful but very short wind.
You're like a cheetah. You can go real fast for a couple
it's just
seconds.
like, I got to knock you out with one punch, or
You gotta lay down in the shade for a while.
Yeah. I'll be like that. The guy in the Navy sweatshirt that just got hit by the cops the other day with a big fucking dude. You see him?
I didn't see that.
Okay,
No.
well, we talked about him the other day where they were just beating him with like a baton and stuff, and he's not even flinching.
Yeah.
So like, they'll just be pounding me, but I'll be like, all right.
Come on. Aren't you tired yet?
Okay, now, bam.
Right. That's funny.
Well, Mary, you're going to be headlining the Hilarities on Thursday, July 30th. Let me
Yes.
do that much cleaner.
Okay.
Mary is headlining Hilarities July 30th at 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Get your tickets at hilarities.com. Follow Mary on Instagram, Mary Santora Comedy, and go see her because she is a fucking great comic, and she is also working at a club that's doing everything right to keep you safe.
It's wild.
So, like,
do they just like knock it out of the park?
they're going out of their way to go above and beyond what the CDC guidelines are this, and they're taking it to the next level to keep everybody safe and just doing everything right to because they got to keep themselves safe too.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate what they're doing. It's like the one place, like Pete did a good job, but I think Hilarities is just taking it to another level.
For sure. Yeah, they're killing it, dude. So,
So-
yeah, come out. It's going to be a really good time. I'm excited.
And then you should record it and then maybe put it out.
I got to do something. I know. I'm just when it comes to comedy, man, I'm such a perfectionist where it's like, there's jokes that I've been doing for 3 or 4 years that have only gotten better. And I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't record this 2 years ago. Not to say that
Right, but
once
then
you
there's
record
also-
it, then it's dead. I
Right.
know that.
And
But
that's
it's just,
also like, especially at the level where you're at, where you can record it now and then still use it on something when you get, if you get like a Netflix special or something like that, you can still do that because your audience is only going to grow, and that's going to bring you revenue in the meantime.
Right.
So
Right.
that's
I
how
know.
I've always looked at it.
That was on my list.
I've put so many albums out and shit like that, and jokes always get better because that's the
what
whole
you
idea.
should be doing. It should be
And-
getting better. Yeah.
And then you also have it archived. So you go, okay, I can always go back to that if I need to because I have so much stuff that and I'm kind of doing that. And like, I've got jokes that are on a couple albums because they got better.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this now.
Do the new version of it. Yeah. The only
It's not like anybody ever hears that and goes, "What the fuck?" and then turns it off. Like,
I heard this.
I've heard this premise before by Bill. He stole from himself.
How dare you? No, the only time I regret not putting out an album that I wish I would have was after my last breakup when we did the wedding show at Hilarities.
Yeah.
Because I had about I would say a solid 30 minutes on breakup stuff and just calling off the wedding, and I wish that night I would have recorded it because it was still pretty raw in the emotions.
Rustin film it?
He filmed it, but I was so I hadn't drank in 2 months.
Yeah.
And then I started drinking that night.
Yeah,
And
I
on
remember.
stage, I drank a fifth of or a 40 of Miller High Life.
Okay.
And then I was doing shots and I had champagne.
Yeah.
So by the time, because I closed the show, so by the time I got up, they kind of cut my time short and I was all over the place and I
Okay,
was like,
all right.
and it was emotional and
Yeah.
everything. But that, if I could go back and do it differently, I wish I would have kept my wits about me, recorded a half hour that night and put that out because. Moving on in your life from some things, it's hard to go back
yeah.
and touch on them because
Well,
it's just not going to come across the same.
All the stuff that I had about my last relationship, I put on The Legend of Bill Squire because I needed, like, it was all tied together.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that was like 50 minutes that I was just like, all right, all
And
this
it's
stuff works
packaged up,
together.
it's ready to go,
and like, there is some stuff that got better after that, but there's, stuff in there that only works for that time period.
That's exactly what it was.
And I had to get it out. And so
That's my only regret with an
and
album.
So my advice to you is to just don't be so afraid to put something out because
know.
you can put out really great stuff and you're allowed to build on it too. And also when you're working on new stuff, like you have those in your back pocket.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I know.
all right, follow Mary, go see her at Hilarities, and thank you for listening. And check out this interview right now with Matt Campy, the first male Instagram hottie.
Gotcha. Okay. So we're just doing 30 minutes.
Yep,
flat and
30
that's it?
minutes. So just bring all your energy, all your power.
Well, wait. I'm just
for 30 minutes
How does that work though? If you say you do an hour and a half, but we only do 30 minutes.
because it's other segments. So it'd be like
other stuff that you just do by yourself.
No, with other guests and contributors and stuff like that.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So like I'll do. So I just learned that Matt Campy does not listen to my podcast.
Wait, are we actually on right now?
We are on right now.
Oh shit. Okay. Hey.
Yeah, that's how it gets going because it's like I said, you're part of a segment. It's an ensemble cast for these episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do different segments with different people and then splice them together and make amazing content that people just really love. We're up to 6 billion views a week.
Okay. Nice. Oh, 6 billion.
Yeah, 6 billion.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you said 600 earlier.
Yeah, something like
you
that.
meant
Okay,
6
maybe
billion.
600. Yeah, whatever.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
or 700, whatever.
I must have misheard you because your dog was all up on my shit. Like the
Yeah.
minute she seen me, dude, she
Yeah.
was humping the shit
So
out of me.
my dog just got her vagina out like 2 weeks ago, or about 2 weeks ago, and she's not really a humper, but she likes humping Matt.
Yeah.
So like right off the bat, she sees Matt. I run into him as he's parking to get here, and she just starts humping him right away.
Immediately.
Immediately, she doesn't even pause to be like, "Who is this?" She's just like, "I'm gonna hump this guy," and I think she senses that you're single now. And
She does. She must sense it. Yeah. Maybe I'm giving off a scent. I
you're
don't know.
giving off something. And you said you have dogs too, and they're female dogs.
Yes,
so,
2 female dogs.
So maybe she's a lesbian dog.
A lesbiadoodle. That's what I'm thinking.
Lesbiadoodle, there
yeah,
you go.
yeah, something like
Yes.
that. Maybe.
I like that a lot.
Well, what's really funny is I know your dog like humped my leg like really, really vigorously, like
Mm-hmm.
out front the minute that we, made eye contact. But then as soon as we got in the elevator, it was funny because you remember we were coming up in the elevator.
We're coming up in the elevator, and
We got stopped at the third floor.
On the third floor. This guy's looking into the elevator, and she just sees my dog, or this dude sees my dog going to town on Campy's leg. And he's like, "I'll get the next one."
Yeah, it's really funny because like the door is just opening and then it's just a view of the dog just going nuts on my fucking leg, and the guy was just looking down and I'm like, I'll wait for the next one.
That's good. I'm all right. Can you put your chair down a little bit?
Yeah, for
I feel
sure.
like you're a little high there.
doubt.
There you go.
I'm definitely
Appreciate that.
not high, sir. I'm like a once a year smoke weed guy.
Yeah. What's your vice these days?
Jesus Christ.
I know you like.
I don't even know.
I feel like you've cut back on alcohol a lot, but I don't know if that's crept back into your life. But I know you got rid of smoking for a while, and then that came back hard.
I think cigarettes are my vice.
Your
probably.
number one?
My number one, yeah, definitely my number one. I did cut back on the drinking a little bit, not too much, but for a minute there, I was getting.
I feel like there was a while, like I remember around the beginning of the year, like through most of January, you didn't really drink at all,
No,
and then you went and you were getting closer to your like 1 year show, and then we went to quarantine. How did you drink through quarantine? Were you drinking a lot?
oh my God, I almost killed myself drinking through quarantine.
Okay,
It
all
was
right,
bad. I mean,
all
there
right.
was nights where
I need to hear that from other people because me and my girlfriend were putting down handles of liquor.
Yeah.
On like a weekly basis. Like she'd have her handle, I'd have my handle. I'd drink tequila, she'd drink whiskey, and we'd go through it so fast to the point where we're like, all right, we can't drink premium liquor anymore because we're not making as much money as we used to make, and we are just housing this liquor.
Yeah, you got a budget, you know, like especially during quarantine. Like I spent no money during the quarantine.
That's good. That's good. I spent so much money, all these fucking shoes.
All the
that's,
shoes.
That's literally how I like coped with quarantine. I'm like, well, as long as there's shoes coming, everything should be okay, right?
It's
as
just
long as I'm getting a new pair of shoes,
Exactly.
it's all okay.
It's so materialistic, man. Such a materialistic mindset.
I didn't used to be, but that's how I dealt with this quarantine, and it's all right. I'm happy with my decision.
I will
like my
say
shoes.
there's a lot more shoes. Like I knew you were a shoe guy, but there's a lot more boxes of shoes here than I thought there would be. Tons of them.
I'm like around 40 or 50 pairs, and I only started collecting last year.
Right. And I mean,
most of these, like a good majority of these are from like March
oh, really?
to like May.
Oh my God.
Because I was I was getting 2 or 3 deliveries a week of shoes.
Yeah, I'm sure the FedEx guy was just loving that.
Well, yeah, and like the front desk here is who they get delivered to. So the guy that works in the evening, he's just like, more shoes, motherfucker. Like he's just like, I'm like, man, I like shoes, and he's like, I know you do, but calm down.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
he's like giving me, he's like, I know. You just gotta calm down. You're buying too much shoes. Like he's having like a heart to heart with me.
I feel like on the camera you could probably only see like the top 2 rows here, but really there's like 17 rows of shoes below the table.
But there's also, I did prop them up a little bit with some of the boxes that they came in, just so that they'd be. But like honestly, I have enough that if I wanted to, I could take those boxes out and it'd probably still look pretty clever. But
Still as tall as the
close.
building that you're living in currently.
Yeah. I'm getting there. But yeah, I'm happy to hear that you were drinking during quarantine because I was also drinking during quarantine, and I mean a lot of people were.
I mean, it was bad for me, dude. It got to the point where I was like, I would have 1 or 2 people come over and we just start drinking, and then I would completely black out, and I wake up the next day, have no recollection of what happened, and they'd be like, "Yeah, man, we just left. Like you were stumbling around your kitchen, like you almost fell like 7 times."
And here's what's so tough about you going into quarantine in that situation is you went through a pretty devastating breakup right before quarantine started.
Right.
So I was lucky. I was on the other side of that coin where I was getting into a relationship as quarantine started. So it was like a lot of fun for us for the first couple weeks. It was fucking great.
Right.
Like the first 2 weeks, me and her just had a blast, and then she started to get a little bit depressed, and I started to get a little bit depressed, and so then it got a little bit weird, but we got through it all, and it was all okay. But I couldn't imagine like having gone through like a breakup of like that level, because people don't understand the levels of breakups. Like, honestly, I feel like the first breakups you go through when you are in like middle school and high school, where like your love is very pure, those ones hurt a lot because you've never been through it before.
Exactly.
So those ones hurt real bad.
The first big breakup is always the worst breakup,
Yeah,
I think.
I will say that. But then when you put stakes into the breakup, then it gets more complicated and it lingers longer. So that one hurts immediately, that first big one.
Yeah.
But it doesn't linger as long as something where there's stakes in it. So like if you have a kid with someone or you're living together, stuff like that, that really sinks its nails into you.
Yeah, that's like the driving force. That is the blow to the stomach for sure. Is when you're tied through a child. That shit because you can't just walk away and be like, okay, well, I'll see you never, and then just never come back, right? You know, like you have to see that person every single day, communicate with them regularly,
Right?
How's
And
the
you
kid?
have
Where's
to
the
make that
kid?
as easy as you can, because you're like you have to put your bullshit aside, which I feel like you're doing a pretty good job of.
Well, actually,
like you both are being kind of adults for the most part to make sure that the kids not seeing the bad stuff.
So I've actually been living there for like the last 3 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've been staying there. Like I still have my own place, but I've been staying there more recently. So
things
we're like in the process of working things out.
Things on the mend.
We're attempting to work things out. Is the process right now currently.
And I don't think you ever went through this on DNC, and you don't have to talk about it here, but if you want to, what actually was the cause of the breakup?
Oh my gosh. It's funny because like it's deep. It was me. Like I'll just be straight the fuck up honest. Like it was me. Like I made a lot of stupid fucking decisions, especially like in the very beginning of our relationship, which was a 4-year long relationship.
Right.
Up until our split in January. But I just made a lot of bad decisions, and none of them were like super, super crucial to the point. Like I never cheated.
But it
you know
was
what I'm
like
saying?
it was
I never
just a
did.
bunch of little things that added up
For
to a
sure.
point where she's like, all right, you got to grow the fuck up, or kind of that kind of situation.
Kind of, sort of. And I mean, she's not like an angel either, and she knows that. But
She absolutely is. I met her on several occasions. I heard her when she was on your podcast. She can do no wrong.
we are both human. We're both human beings, and it is what it is. You know,
I feel like because when you first came back, because you guys took a little hiatus on doing the Do Nobody Cares podcast, which is where Matt's from. I don't even think I've said that yet. But that's how we've built our friendship. And he worked at the station. He's furloughed right now, but I've gotten to know him over doing his podcast, which I love and I listen to every single week. And if you don't listen to it, what's wrong with you? You should. It's fucking great. And so you guys had that episode where she was on, and like then you had that episode where you kind of came clean about the breakup, because there was a lot of episodes where you weren't talking about it. Like I knew there was something going on. You had told me a little bit about it, and so I could like hear the pain and kind of the I don't know, you just
tenderness. You could hear it in my voice.
Well, you weren't really yourself for several episodes of the podcast, and then when you came on and you talked about some of the stuff that you were going through and just kind of learning how to like go through that and just like you had like a grown up moment on the podcast, which I really appreciated. Like
For
it was
sure.
a very real moment.
Yeah, and I do appreciate the text that you sent me after you listened to that episode. That was an awesome
What was the
text.
phrase? You used a great phrase.
Oh man,
We might be able to look through text. We'd have to
I'm
look
not
through
sure.
yours,
I'm not sure.
But it was like a phrase of like something that you had learned about going through this kind of breakup and just like learning about yourself and like, you know, not hanging on to those feelings from past relationships and past traumas. And it was like, I'm like, this is Matt Campy, the guy
I know.
that like we always bust on for being fucking so dumb, but it was like really, you know, you were a lot more the real you and not the podcast version of you.
Right, and don't get me wrong. Like the podcast version of me is the real me.
I understand, but it's a different, you know,
It's fun guy me. It's
fun guy
Kawhi
you.
Leonard me.
Yes,
you know?
yes,
Ha,
yeah.
ha, 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 ha. It's Kawhi
Yeah.
Leonard me. You know,
Yeah,
as
like
opposed
the
to
emotional, like vulnerable part of you doesn't always make it onto the podcast. So when I saw that and like heard that episode, I was like, oh, look at Matt having some depth to him.
Yeah, no doubt. And like there was a lot of episodes, like you said, in between where you could tell that I wasn't exactly myself.
Yeah, you weren't 100%.
And it's because you know of everything that was happening, trying to cope with the. I mean, originally it wasn't even we hadn't even split yet. It was just heading towards a split, and
Yeah.
a lot of those episodes, I wasn't acting as myself, and then the actual split happened, and it got a lot worse. I started drinking pretty hardcore,
Yeah.
yada yada. But you know, even leading up to that, it was kind of the same thing, and. I spent a lot of time alone through the quarantine. I did a lot of thinking. I did a lot of reading, research, yada yada, and just how to be just the best person that I can be in general. You know what I mean?
And I think that's where you mentioned the thing that I'm trying to remember here is that alone time and just like that reflection that you had on like, okay, what's making me who I am?
right, and it's extremely painful to go through. Like I'm sure
Oh,
people
yeah,
who are
dude.
listening know. Like it's so painful, dude.
It's so painful when you because what happens, and I think a lot of people did this during quarantine, is they go, okay, there's nobody else fucking me up right now, so this is all on me. Oh shit, I'm the problem.
Right.
And people are having that realization that they're not coping with things correctly, or they're lashing out at people. They're doing all these things that are destructive to their life. And then they have that realization during quarantine. And I'm not saying everybody did, but I feel like a lot of people did, where they go, okay, what can I do to be a better person when we get on the other side of this? And I kind of went through that to a certain degree.
Oh yeah, with a few years ago though, right?
I went through I went through it during quarantine, but yeah, a few years ago when I was first out of my breakup, like of me and my ex-wife, like that was a very rough time for me. And so like I completely understand like having to go and perform, and like you're doing it weekly on a podcast. I was doing it every day on a radio show.
Yeah.
And
Which
there would be things that would like set me off, and people would be like, what the fuck is wrong with Bill? Because I hadn't talked about it at all.
Right. Yeah.
And so they're like, why is he so on edge? And it was because in the background, all this stuff's happened in my life where my relationship's fallen apart, and I hadn't talked about it yet.
Well, I know it was hard for me personally, and I'm only going on once a week. You're going on every day.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about showbiz, though, that a lot of people don't think about. Like you're watching the news, right? And you've got the fucking meteorologist or your weather woman or whatever the fuck.
Right.
And, her dad might have just died that day
Right.
or something like that. You know what I mean? Or her
Yeah.
dad might be in the hospital dying.
There might
But
be
she's
something
still
going
gotta-
on, but
she's
she's
still
gotta
got
go
to
up
do
there
the
and
weather
perform.
with a smile on her face.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? And it's like, people
that-
don't think about that.
And that's one thing, but then when you have to just go, like, meteorologists, you can go up there, you can plaster the smile on, you can do that stuff, and that's still tough. But when you are talking like us, where we're talking about our lives every single day, and you're cutting out these huge things of what's like keeping you awake at night and causing all these problems, and you want to talk about it, but it's not time yet, it is so stressful.
It is.
So you know you've been through that, and I appreciate you even opening up a little bit on this podcast, because I always go in weird directions. I never know what's going to happen when I have guests in. Sometimes it's very funny, sometimes it's more heart to heart kind of shit, and I like not really knowing what's going to happen.
It is very heart to heart right now. I'm digging
It
the
is.
bro vibes. Dude.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
It's almost like we're actually really friends and not just acquaintances,
I feel like we're friends.
I was totally kidding, by the
All
way.
right.
I was trying to make it, give it the comedy
All right,
turn.
let's give it the comedy
Trying to
turn.
give it the comedy
All right,
turn.
Well, let's talk about who you are on the podcast, the silly fun side of you.
Yes.
Because one of the things that I love about you is you are very out there, and so when you hear something that happens, like in the news and stuff like that, you don't just go, okay, what happened in the news? I'm going to go find sources.
Right.
You'll read a headline. You'll be like, let's figure this out in Matt's brain.
Yeah, with no research, no background
Yeah.
to it. We just read a headline and we just go with
And
it.
then
Like,
we
what
just
do you
go
think
with
this
it.
means?
Yeah. So what could that be? There's murder hornets. Let's talk about that.
Right,
And
let's
then just
talk about it.
And then you kind of come up with a theory without any
Without the background knowledge behind
without
it.
any background knowledge. But it's usually something that is pretty out there and funny, and like I think that's kind of and I love how it drives Kevin crazy on
Yes.
your podcast. Like that's that back and forth that you and him have is great, and then Jake is there for a balance too. Like it's a really fun podcast. But
Yeah, so-
how does that work though? Like what you're doing with that, right?
You mean like ahead of time? Like going into it?
Well, I'm just saying like that's you're not that dumb.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I'm
Right,
just
right.
making sure, because like you kind of play the dumb guy on the podcast.
Well, okay, here's the thing about me, really, and let me just try to break this down before I forget. So, like, the way that it works is, once the mics start rolling, and we are, because as the host, it is up to you to move the chains.
Yeah.
You got to keep it fresh. You got to keep it going. Like,
Right.
if the conversation starts to die out, you got to change the subject. You got to keep things
So you got to spark
moving.
a conversation.
And when I'm in that mindset, lots of times like we'll bring up a headline and we'll talk about a headline, and then we'll be like in mid conversation, and it's like I don't have anything intelligent to say about this, so like I'm just gonna
So you're just
go
gonna-
with whatever I can think
so
of.
you're just gonna go, instead of saying like, all right, I don't have anything intelligent to say, I'm just gonna go full fucking dumb.
Right, and that's kind
Full
of the
dumb, but it's funny.
That's kind
And
of the
and I
niche.
appreciate it, and like, but it's also creative, and it's also like I get that, like, because I wouldn't say I say exactly the same stuff, like, but I do a similar thing like that depending on the topic on the Alan Cox show,
Mm-hmm.
where I'll try and find a way to take whatever topic we're on in a weird direction.
Right.
And sometimes that's my goal, is to be like, all right, can I derail this conversation that's like a little bit heavy and make it into something that's really fun
Right.
and goofy?
And we are known for getting off the rails pretty hardcore,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is something that I would like a little bit less of personally, but it is what it is. Like, I mean, we will go from fucking talking about ice cream to fucking yoga to fucking Beijing to
Yeah.
in like a matter of 45 seconds. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how'd we get there? How'd we get there? How'd we get there? I have no idea. You know, your head starts
that's
spinning.
the flow, and I appreciate it because I like, maybe it's because I'm in the business too. So like I appreciate seeing that randomness and that chaos happen live and in that interaction. So keep it going.
Well, and I will
keep
say,
it going.
like,
keep it every
it
fucking week
moving,
because
yeah.
those
Move
weeks
the
when you
chain.
guys were not, I was fucking mad. I'm be honest, I was fucking mad. I am
It's-
a Patreon subscriber.
Yeah.
You get $2 a month from me,
right.
and here I am just listening to Jake. Blah blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
Jake
blah,
Solo
which I actually
podcast.
like. No, but I actually have never listened to it.
He's getting a lot
getting-
better at it.
Well, I've listened to the free ones that you put on, but I actually never downloaded. Like I'm a supporter, so I want to give you guys a couple bucks every month.
Mm-hmm.
But to get to the point where I've listened to his podcast, like the ones that he's put on
the
for
Patreon.
free.
Oh,
No,
okay. The
I'm-
one that he's put on the main feed for free.
Like
Yeah.
I listened to that one and I liked it, so I probably will dig back into the Patreon a little bit. But it's mostly I don't drive anywhere really anymore, so like
Gotcha.
I don't have as much drive time, so I don't need to fill that time. But once things kind of open back up, I'll get back into it because like that's why I dug so deep into your guys' podcast because I went back like after the last time I was on in October, I like listened to a whole bunch of episodes and then like basically went like a year back and listened to all these episodes. So I'm pretty well versed in your podcast,
Right.
And that's just because I was driving around a lot.
Yeah, and I will say, like,
I like it. I mean-
for the people who have never listened to it, like we've often been described. When I say often, I mean like twice.
Yeah.
As like the Seinfeld of podcasts. So it's about everything and nothing at the same time.
I will give you that. Yeah, I'll sign off on that.
And I'd say-
you guys also did read one of my reviews on an episode that I left on the Apple podcast, and you didn't know it was me because you don't know what my screen name is. There.
Oh, it's not Bill Pays for Porn anymore. Is it
Well,
something
Bill
to-
Pays for Porn is my OnlyFans.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Which eventually I'm going to put a dick pic up there that's going to cost
150 grand.
150 grand.
Yeah, hell yes, dude.
Yeah.
I'm a big supporter of that. No, what I was gonna say too, and then like, so I mean, obviously, me as the host, you know, I want to move the chains. 99% of the time, you know, you're gonna get an episode where at least 5, 6, or 7 of the most ridiculous, idiotic things you've ever heard come out of my mouth. Which, you know, and then you've got Kevin, my co-host. He's my right-hand man, my best fucking friend in the world. He's the one who's he's instantly infuriated with anything that comes out of my mouth. And then you've got Jake, who's kind of like the mediator between us two. I think Jake leans a little more towards my side because he likes to have a little bit
Jake's
more fun.
the instigator because he knows what to do on both sides to rile you both up.
Right. Well, like if Jake wants to instigate, he will. But then
Yeah.
there's times when I'll bust Kevin's ass and
Yeah.
I'll look for Jake for like backup, and he doesn't want to jump in the middle of it.
Yeah.
He'll play both sides, you know. And it's kind of just when we started the podcast, we had no plans for this.
Yeah.
It's actually completely different from what we ever even thought it was going to be.
From the first appearance that I made to like all the other appearances, because I've been on like 5 or 6 times now.
5.
It just gets better and better, and like you guys are getting more adept at like just letting it be a fun hang and still being like very conversational, but also things like that I hear on that podcast. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know about that.
Right.
Like, because I think you guys all have, as much as you're all white males around the same age, you all have very different experiences in life.
Right. And, we've developed a very, like, I mean, it's easy to,
Well, you guys all know your roles.
right.
Which
exactly.
is very important because some people, when they get on a podcast and they don't know the roles, they don't know how to be interesting, they don't know how to set themselves apart, and you guys have done a good job of that. And I talked with Jake about this, about like people giving you like shit compliments or just being assholes. Whereas like you had that, he was at that party a couple weeks ago, and someone comes up to him and they're like, "I can't even listen to your podcast." And it's like, well, then shut up. Just say you don't have to say that to me.
Well, I wouldn't even care. Like, people tell me all the time, they're like, I'm just going to be honest, I've never heard your podcast before. I'm like, that's fine.
I know
Like,
you've never listened to my podcast, which has been obviously this whole thing, which is a little disheartening.
I'm actually starting.
You just
once this
subscribed.
episode's-
I saw you just subscribed
Yeah,
on
yeah,
YouTube.
I
so-
did, and I'm going to start listening once this episode drops. I'll
All right,
start
well,
with this one.
all right.
No,
And-
but it was funny because we were at a party, and sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. We were at a party. We were at my party, actually. It was the 4th of July, this year's 4th of July party, which you've been to a few of those of ours.
Yes,
in the past.
in the past. I opted out this year just because I had just gotten back from vacation and I just needed like a chill day to decompress.
Gotcha.
So like otherwise I would have gone out, but I was just like, you know what? There's gonna be people there, and I'm just like I need to get ready for Monday.
You're like, I miss quarantine.
Yeah,
I miss being alone.
I had a great time, like me and my girlfriend, but like the dog was gone for a week and stuff like that. So there was just like a lot of things going on that I was just like, I'm not gonna go out there. And also like, it's still a little bit weird to be around groups of people.
Right. Gotcha. Oh, no, it definitely is. But no, it was funny because there was a random dude, which I won't name drop him, but he came to my party. And, it's one thing to, like,
It's not a name drop if it's a random dude.
Well,
If it's
it
a
doesn't-
celebrity, that's a name drop. But if you drop someone's name that isn't a celebrity, then you're just calling them out.
Gotcha. Okay. And I don't see the need because
Call him out.
it's
Call-
irrelevant. I
call
mean,
out this motherfucker that doesn't listen to your podcast.
His
He's
name
a
is
piece of
Jordan.
shit.
His name is Jordan. His name is Jordan Sturgeon. Whatever. But it's besides the point. It's like irrelevant. It's one thing to
Listen to their podcast, Jordan Sturgeon.
It's one thing to be like mid conversation for a few minutes and then bring it up, and then if you want to
Yeah.
say it, then say it. But like it was literally his it was his launch pad. Like
Yeah.
he used that to initiate conversation. Hadn't said a word all night, and then just comes up like, "Hey man, I'm gonna be honest. I don't really listen to your podcast." Like that's how you're gonna start a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Which like
There's a lot of people here that also don't listen to it, but they didn't bring it up.
I think Jake might take a little bit more of offense than I do. Like I've been in this business of trying to entertain
I
for
don't-
so many years that I don't take offense to that shit
I don't think he
anymore,
was
you know?
offended. I think he's just like, but why? Like, it's just like, what an awkward, weird thing to bring up.
Right, but you also have to know, is it really worth diving into trying to figure that out? Or should I
Yes,
just let
absolutely.
it go in one ear and out the other?
I love trying to figure out why people are the way they are. So so like that's a weird thing. So like it's and like trolls and all those people that just feel that need to say things that don't need to be said.
Right.
It blows my mind.
And I think that's where we differ is because I just pay it no mind because I know that I'm not
Do you
going
say
to
defer or differ?
defer is what I said. Is that incorrect? Differ. That's where
Yes.
we differ.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes,
See?
yes.
Okay. Look, this is turning into an episode of Dude Nobody
Yes,
Cares
it does.
Already.
Yeah, some of them are organic. There's some dumb shit he says just to get people riled up, but there's definitely some organic dumb shit that he says.
But look, there she goes again, dude.
Yeah,
She's
she's-
licking, getting ready to start humping.
All right, we gotta kind of wrap this up. I did want to let you know that this week you aren't only a guest, but you are also going to be this week's first ever male Instagram hottie.
Nice, dude. Hell yes.
Because you just posted that thirst trap from when you were like 21 at your parents' house.
I did? What?
That Throwback Thursday where you're like in like the all green and you're like in your parents' bedroom.
Oh my god! Don't post that photo, dude. Don't post. I'm deleting it off of Instagram right now. Did you screenshot it already?
I did not, but please let that be because it's so funny.
I've got.
All right, then you have to post another thirst trappy photo for me to use because I've been doing like Instagram hotties for several years now,
Right.
And now it's like the Alan Cox Show Instagram hotties. It was like sponsored for a little while, and it was like Mondays for a while, but we've never had a male Instagram hottie. So I'm gonna make you the first male Instagram hottie.
You know what? And I was going to tell you too. I'm the first hot guy to come on your podcast, but you basically just said it for me there. So there you go. No, it's fine.
That's so insulting.
And conceited. Don't forget that.
But also it might be true. Let me go through all the males that I've had on my podcast. Martin Malloy, probably not. He's
I love Marty though.
he's the
Fucking
best.
love Marty.
Love Marty. AJ DeCosimo, who's dropped some weight and he's looking pretty good.
Yeah, he looks better
But
when he's
cute,
covered.
not hot.
He looks better when he's covered in shaving cream.
Yes,
just full blown shaving cream.
Full blown
Yeah.
slut man. My buddy Matt Bergman, he's going bald. Not hot. Oh, you know what? I think Chad Daniels. He's a comedian.
Oh, he's a good looking guy. I don't know.
He's a pretty good looking guy.
Is he? Okay. Well, that's
So,
fine.
but again, he's also a little old, so he might not be hot. But you know who will probably be hot? And it's kind of your introduction. The first member of your podcast that I had on this show, Jake, because he's going to be on before you.
Oh my God!
I already recorded it. and
Jesus.
I just wanted
Wait,
to
he came here already?
Yeah.
You guys fucking. Oh Jesus!
We snuck ya.
So what? You gotta get Kevin now, right? No?
Yeah, well, I had Kevin on Flicks and Bill.
Okay.
But I'm gonna have Kevin on as well.
All right.
But
Yeah, the DNC trilogy.
The first hot member of DNC, Real DNC podcast, is Jake.
No, but you know
he's
what?
ever so handsome.
Well, we put a poll on Twitter one time, and I won the hot vote. Okay, so like maybe we'll just redo the poll then. I don't know.
Jake's a handsome dude.
He's a
taller.
handsome guy.
He's tall.
He is. He definitely is. Someone once told me he looked like Ron Perlman. So I don't know if that's.
Oh, I don't see that.
No, you don't see Ron Perlman.
I know because Ron Perlman's got like a weird cat face. And
Yeah.
Jake's got like he could be Ron Perlman's like nephew maybe,
Okay, yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't think of him as Ron Perlman. So I'm gonna go. All right, who else? I'm trying to think of the other guests.
You had John Bruton on there. He's a good looking guy.
He's a good looking guy.
Yeah.
So you're not the first hot guy.
Okay.
And also Bill Squire. I'm no slouch.
Definitely.
I'm chubby, but I'm like I'm handsome chubby.
What I wanted to say too is if you actually are, you're gonna do the all male Instagram hotties.
Not all male, just you, and then the rest are gonna be girls.
I'll be the first male Instagram hottie.
Yeah,
Okay.
first and only. I think I'm gonna do it one time.
I've got like 4 more photos like that one, but like with different styles of clothes on.
Okay.
Can I just send them and maybe we'll just do like the swipe? You just swipe to see all 4
absolutely.
possibly.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
just make it a post when we do this episode, and we'll go from there. Because I think this episode's going to be just a 2-parter where it's me and you, and then Mary.
Great. And then all my old photos from 9 years ago, my embarrassing selfies.
Yeah.
Yes. Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh god.
All right, well, thanks for stopping by, buddy.
Yeah, no worries, dude. It's been fun. It's been real. Make sure you
been
guys can I plug real quick?
Yes,
Is that cool?
absolutely. That's what you're here for.
Make sure you guys check us out on we are on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at RealDNCPod. You can listen to our podcast. That's Dude Nobody Cares. We try to put out new episodes every week. Our bio on Twitter says new episodes sometimes because we don't always know when we're going to
never
make
know
it.
what's going to happen. But they also have a backlog of 100 plus episodes.
Yeah, I
So-
think we just did 107.
dig
with you.
in and like I kind of like I've done this with several podcasts where I'll start with the newest episode and work my way backwards, and then you kind of like get to know them in reverse,
Right, and then
I kind of like that. So check out his podcast, give it a few episodes, you'll pick up their vibe, and I think you'll like it.
Yeah, definitely. And you can listen to that pretty much anywhere, wherever you get your podcasts. So yeah, that's
But
it.
you know, since it's an iHeartRadio podcast,
Listen on
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio. We are on iHeartRadio.
But if you're an Apple Podcast, give them 5 stars. Give me 5 stars.
Yes.
That makes our dicks hard.
Do it. God, love a hard dick.
This is the Bill Squire Show.